I didn't remember, but now, yes.
I would have brought a picture, but I lost it.
Oh.
Jupiter didn't have very many romantic scenes, darling. I can't even think of, wasn't she involved with Chad very, very far back?
Andrew, I think it was.
Was it Chad?
In the first season, it was Andrew.
Andrew in the coffee shop.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that
the
show.
arcade.
In the arcade, but then there's a scene in the coffee shop, right?
That was on the show.
Okay, well, it was the coffee shop in the arcade. It was a vending machine. It was poorly drawn, and I can't remember. So.
Can I change my mind? Does it have to be in sale? Because I think she should have been with Batman.
Which one? Adam West, Kevin Conroy, Michael Keaton, Val Kilmer, George Clooney, or Christian Bale.
Oh, you're good.
They're all loaded, though.
No. Are you serious?
Not George.
Oh, good. I thought you were yeah.
Well, see, I love Christian Bale, but I'm a huge Michael Keaton fan. So I'm going to go to Michael Keaton old school. Even though I didn't like those Batman movies the best, but I do like Michael Keaton.
I take it Adam West.
Now everybody has to
I
answer.
take Adam West because my body would be better than his.
Michael Keaton, I hated the movie, but he's just such a fine actor. He's
Yes.
a great, great, great actor.
Solid
Wonderful
choice,
guy.
Susan. Solid.
I mean, Christian Bale has like, I mean,
Yeah.
and plus like like his Batman, like he's gonna be withholding and cold, but then it's gonna be like
Brooding.
amazing, where it really matters. But then like you're gonna wake up in the morning, it's just gonna be Alfred who's brought you breakfast, and he's gone, and you don't know where he. Yeah, totally Christian Bale.
I changed my mind. I don't want Adam West.
I changed my mind too.
I would like a cigarette and a glass of water right now.
Christian Bale, man. Come on.
Yeah.
I would read Batgirl. Or whatever. Or whatever, really. Let's just take a moment and appreciate that. I'm sorry. Questions? Yes, sir?
Could you all say I'm Batman in Christian Bale voice?
Okay, oh my God, I've got my. I'm Batman. Wait, no. Ask him who are you? Say who are you? You know, like when he comes outside.
Who are you?
Batman. I'm Batman. I'm Batman.
Restaurant Batman.
Who has questions? Anybody? Yes, sir.
You ever find your characters like rubbing off on your personality?
When I did Sailor Moon, and I would walk around the house trying to get my voice, because I was always losing my voice doing it because you're screaming so much, and so I'd walk around the house going, can I do it? Although in the morning I'd go, so I'd walk around the house going, come on. And I had a 1-year-old walking around. She couldn't talk. And she'd walk over to you, and I go, are you making fun of me? She'd go, my little mini moon.
Did you really call her that?
Yeah, at the time I did.
She was my little.
How many episodes did you do?
Jack, how many episodes?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. I think you were, you got to about the 80th episode.
I think it was 80-something.
80 something, it was 85. 80, 85, 86.
You're wrong, Jack.
Wikipedia!
Don't trust me.
It's amazing.
I think I actually did more than any of the other ones, like more than Terry.
Oh wait, how many episodes you did? Because I went to where you started.
Yeah, but I think I did 80 something.
Yeah.
Where did she
First
where
episode of
did
that.
she
She started around the 80th episodes. Around the 80s episodes.
Actually, and then how far?
90, there we go, 90.
90?
Yeah. Sold!
Any more questions? Would anyone like to recite Desiderata? Does anyone know what Desiderata is? You are obviously not a 60s children. 90s.
We're all 90s kids here, we're all 90s.
I know, and what a decade it was. I'm telling you, I wish I'd been born in the 90s. God. Yes?
Which character have all of you played that was most like your own personality?
You gotta do this. Sybil.
I would probably say Makise Kirisu from Steins Gate, because she's like kind of tomboyish and like pretty sassy and like really tough, but secretly like kind of a little bit of a weeper. So probably Makise. Only I'm not, you know, a brilliant scientist and I know nothing about string theory. But other than that, we're like this, man. Totally.
You know, that's a really good question. I would have to say Sailor Jupiter is probably the one that's closest to me. Absolutely. Apart from the flying. And the, you know, the heroism. But yeah, so that was, in fact, as I said, I think we didn't really have to think a lot about characterization. We just sort of went by the seat of our pants, so to speak, except for Linda. And just sort of, you know, did it right off the top of our heads because it was already there. You know, she could hear that she was getting the sound that she wanted.
Well, I missed the question.
Which character was the most like you?
Oh. Personality-wise or voice-wise?
Personality.
That's a toughie. I did a very sarcastic, not that I'm sarcastic, character in Yin Yang Yo. I did a lot of characters in Yin Yang Yo, and there was this one that was just, everything she did was so sarcastic, which is kind of what I'm like all the time. And so that one was very much like me, I would say. A lot like me.
You know, I know now I'm just going to sound like I'm totally copying Susan, but Sailor Mars is very, very close. Aside from her being an Aries, everything about her is, we're very similar. I know, I had to check. But then I also play on Beyblade Hikaru, and she's badass tough, so I like to think that that's who I am. But I think I'm, yeah, Sailor Mars, right? But Hikaru's really cool.
Yeah, there's moments in film and television when they're shooting or dubbing or in production where there's one moment when shooting is that, I don't know what it is, it's happened to me a couple times where we start laughing at something and it takes us like 10 or 20 minutes for us to just keep our cool, but we can't stop laughing. Was there a moment in Sailor Moon doing the dub that you were just like, there was a moment where you guys could just cracked and you were just like, oh my, you couldn't stop laughing?
Always. But we go in one at a time, right?
Like
We're
one
going
moment,
together.
like one moment where it went like for like 10 or 20 minutes. Run a full episode essentially.
I don't know. I don't know if I ever laughed that long and hard, but you do the stupidest things, you know, you do some stupid line because you couldn't keep up with the words, it just kept coming and coming, and then you're trying to keep up all the time, and then eventually you just start laughing, and if you did start laughing and you couldn't stop, you were done. But of course we did have Nicole, and Nicole was so harsh that she wouldn't let you laugh for very long, I said.
I remember actually driving home after a session. I don't remember ever having any kind of laughing fits doing it because it was just so hardcore and we had a time limit and it was all crazy and we're screaming and all that, so it was terrifying. But on the way home, we would think about what Nicole was saying because I couldn't understand what she was saying half the time. She was just so frantic. And I would just nod my head. Kitty, okay, gotcha. Do it this way. Yep. And then everybody would just be like on a wing and a prayer, just going for it. And then I'd be in my car and I'd start giggling on the way home because I had no idea what our conversation, no idea what she was saying. And luckily for me, because I just found out we were having a conversation about this, that she didn't like people, which I didn't know. She was frantic and crazy, but she used to swear all the time. And now, thank God, she wasn't, you know, harsh and angry at me because I just thought she was just frantic about everything. But apparently, she was nasty sometimes.
I know. Did you ever laugh?
There was no time.
There was no time for laughing.
There wasn't really a lot that was particularly funny. And you know what I'm saying? It was nothing. And at first we always, pardon me, we would record by ourselves. And then after a while we started recording in pairs. And I remember recording with Stephanie quite a lot. Am I right about that? And you recorded with Karen?
I never got.
No, you were always.
I didn't record with Karen because our voices were really similar.
Oh.
And so no, I was kind of on my own.
Oh, okay. Because I remember having my voice is kind of like Stephanie's. That was silly. So anyway, the point was that, you know, seriously, this woman was so frenzied and terrifying that if you did something like that, like, you know, weren't able to do your work because you were laughing so much, I wouldn't have put it past her that she would just say, okay, Suzanne, go! You just go! I fire you! I fire you!
Yeah.
Yeah, and she was.
Although it got to a point with her where I'd be recording and she'd be asleep. And I'd say, Adam, let's save the screams till a little later because we don't want to wake her up. And she wouldn't just sleep, she would snore. Snore, and you can't understand. And okay, she probably a lot as well. Really loudly. And of course, I'm in the booth, right? So I'm bulletproof. I'm blind glasses. And I'd be looking at Adam, and Adam would just be like, now that was funny. Adam and I would really be laughing. We just whisper into the thing, oh God. I'd be laughing so hard. It was so funny. Adam!
She never.
Adam! Yes.
How do you feel about the fact that a lot of times voice actors, they record by themselves rather than interacting with co-actors? Do you think that benefits it, or do you think it would be better if you guys got to interact?
That's a very good question. I love when I'm in the same room with a bunch of actors. There's nothing more fun, and it just makes everything so much better. Like, you can just play off your characters. The only time I found that really hard was when we were doing the Care Bears movies. And there was and everybody's voices were kind of the same, and you just go, I can't remember what my character sounds like anymore. It would just really confuse you.
And I remember I was Laugh a Lot Bear for 5 seconds in one movie, but I remember Laugh a Lot Bear just giggled. And I would sit there, and I like ensemble as well, unless you're sitting there and you have 3 giggles. And then you're sitting there for hours on end listening to every Care Bear. Yeah, and then I'd giggle, and then I wasn't really happy. It wasn't really a happy giggle.
We used to, in the older days, that's one of the main differences between doing animation now and then. We did everything ensemble, and it was very expensive because a lot of times there would be 10 or 15 actors in the room, and each person's got their own microphone and a microphone stand. And there was a lot of messiness when you act in an ensemble situation. You've got to leave a space. So this is the point. It's really not as spontaneous as you might think, because you can't do it like a normal theatrical production, where you say, hey Tommy, you having a good time? Yeah, it's okay. That's way too close. The 2 lines are way too close. So when you're recording an ensemble, you have to say, hey Tommy, you having a good time? Beep, beep. Yeah, it's okay. So that everything is really, really clean, right? So that detracts from the spontaneity and the reality of the acting situation, I find. So I prefer to just go in myself, as Katie said, you're there the whole day. Like like 7 or 8 hours. Whereas I go in and I do all my lines by myself, I'm in and out in 20 minutes. So the thing is that if I'm not doing rhythm band, if I'm just doing my lines according to a script, what you have to do is remember what is the sentence that has been said to you. So what I do is I just say the sentence before, give myself a beat, and then say my line. Because it sounds, so let's say the answer is, I went to the theater and it was great. That's the line. So just out of context, it would be, I went to the theater and it was great. Now I'll read myself in. What did you do last night? Can you see? Now my answer is going to be, I went to the theater and it was great. Can you see the difference? I have made up a beautiful little story. Of course, I'm going to find out how the actor who read that line before me read it, because it could have been read very, very nonchalantly. So, what'd you do last night? It doesn't matter how it was read. It's going to affect the way I respond. So, that's just something to think about. You know, it's, again, it's the stuff that you learn along the way, if you have a good director.
I prefer to record alone, personally, for the same reasons that were just outlined.
If any of you were to see a character that you voiced as in real life, who will it be and what will your reaction would be?
Like a cosplayer? Or
The characters you voice as.
Oh. Like the real life version?
Yes.
Yeah. Government would be covering that up 100%.
I don't sort of understand what you're saying.
Like if
The character became a real person.
like a real person.
Oh, I see, okay.
Oh, I want like one of the magical type ones for sure. Like the witch, for sure the witch.
Oh, the witch, of course.
Oh, for sure the witch. It's just so bizarre and so off the wall, and she just, oh God, I'd love to see what she'd be like in real life.
I don't know, I'm gonna go back to Yoko, because I miss her from, and she had crazy hair, it was awesome. She would do really well as a cosplay, but, you know, she was like, so no one cares, but yeah, she had like orange and red, crazy hair, so yeah, I'm gonna say Yoko.
I'm going to say Snowy, the dog. I'd like to hold that little dog. When it first came out, the series first came out, Nevada had a big opening night party. They also used to do that in the old days. There was a lot more money, I guess. And a little kid came up to me and he said, did you play Snowy? And I said, yes, I did. And he said, I've been reading those comics for a long time, and you make Snowy sound exactly the way I always heard it in my mind. Yes. And that's why we love doing this.
I would probably want to meet Akira from School Rumble. She's bad, and she's like a secret agent, and like, but nobody knows, so she has like secret missions, and she's like, oh, they're like, oh, so what'd you do over vacation? And it's like, cut away to like fighting spies in like Russia, and then like on a jet or like a boat, like speeding across the water, and she's like, nothing. And so I'd pick Akira because we could have some fun.